welcome here to the finals of the Milwaukee Open here on the SCG Tour, sponsored to us by Ultimate Guard. Protection for your sleeves, deck boxes, everything here. We have Joseph Presnell versus Joe Lossett. They were the top 2 seeds of the tournament, making it to the elimination rounds, meeting in the finals. No surprise there. Joseph Presnell, 1 loss on the entire tournament. For Joe Lossett, 2 losses.
Presnell piloting Obzon Company, the best performing deck in this tournament. Of course, he is the 1 seed, 3 copies of the deck in the top 8. Joe piloting the dreaded Tron.
And the dreaded Tron will take a mulligan to start here. For Joe, it was an unexpected path here to the finals. He defeated Will Drescher's Death Shadow aggro in this top 8, 2-0. Played against defending champion Jory White. This was actually their 2nd meeting of the tournament. They played in the Swiss. Joe won both of them, which is, Jory was on burn. This is incredible for Lossett. Now finds himself in the finals against, finally, a matchup that he's happy to see in Obzon Company.
Yeah, unhappy to be taking a mulligan, but even still, Tron has a lot of potential to put together great hands, even down a card or 2.
We saw Joe play this matchup twice during the Swiss. If you can look up those matches on our archives on the YouTube page, they'll be up later this week. Joe Lossett winning both times.
Yeah, we saw some really marathon affairs in this exact matchup, Obzon Company versus Tron.
So for players who weren't with us all weekend, how does the matchup shape? What is the strategy here for Joe?
So Joe's plan, it all hinges on using Oblivion Stone and Fire Spout to keep the Obzon Company off of the table, setting up Karn and Ulamog to just get them out of the game entirely, or just the Ulamog to exile their entire library inevitably. You can allow them to go infinite on their life 1 time. They can set up their Kitchen Finks, Viscera Seer, Melira, or Anafenza combo, and then you just need to kill everything before the red cap comes down and then find your way to win.
Presnell will start on Verdant Catacombs, and Joe Lossett will start on Urza's Power Plant into Expedition map. Of all the games we saw in that matchup, it is interesting. I don't believe the Obzon Company player ever won with damage, with attacking. It was always the combo.
There was a game that came down to an attack and then a red cap for the final 2 damage.
But it's a struggle. It's really about the combo.
The games are super interesting.
All right, so Joseph Presnell, no turn 1 mana creature. He fetches for Godless Shrine. So black-white dual land. Now another fetch land, Verdant Catacombs. You'll see that Joseph is not particularly concerned about his own life total here.
Right. Tron's just not going to be able to outdamage him, and it's not great at actually stopping him from setting up his infinite life combo.
Yeah. Wall of Roots is the turn 2 play from Presnell. For Lossett, it is Urza's Tower. So Expedition map, Urza's Tower, and Power Plant. On turn 3, we will assemble Tron.
The dreaded Tron.
It's coming. It's
coming.
coming.
We have Wormcoil Engine, a Karn Liberated. Karn is the preferred turn 3 play in this matchup.
It is the dreaded Karn out of the dreaded Tron. But for Joe, it looks like the payoff card may just be Spellskite. We've seen him earlier in this tournament keep hands with turn 3 Tron and no payoff.
Particularly when we're down to 6, that makes a lot of sense. Having your Tron and your 6-card hand, what can you ask for that's better in 5?
For Presnell, a 3rd land and a pass. Joe on end step will find the Urza's Mind to finish the Tron. Now, if you're unfamiliar with this Obzon Company deck, I mean, maybe you've watched Standard as well, it's not that Joseph has no plays. He's setting up for the card Collected Company and doing it at the end of Joe's turn so that Joe cannot answer the creatures.
Correct. It's also the potential to use the Wall of Roots to make the mana and then use a Chord of Calling to chord for 2. More likely it is the Collected Company.
The danger here is that between a Collected Company on end step and a Chord of Calling, Joseph can actually basically build the entire combo out of thin air.
Yeah, just from scratch.
Yeah, it's 3 cards. It requires a Kitchen Finks, a Viscera Seer, and 1 of 2 2-drops.
Yep, the Melira and the Anafenza.
All right, turn 3. Joe Lossett, 7 mana. Let's see what he has. Chromatic Sphere, Wormcoil Engine. Not Karn, but good.
It's very unlikely that the Wormcoil Engine's actually just able to attack for lethal damage in this kind of match.
Yeah, Joseph can take some hits off it. Lossett's life total doesn't matter. The end step Collected Company now coming from Presnell.
So he's going to be trying to find a combo here. Any combination of 2 pieces would be good.
He finds Kitchen Finks and Eternal Witness. So Finks is part of the 3-card combo. Eternal Witness is a card, it gets back any card in Joseph's Presnell's graveyard, Presnell can actually get back Collected Company, even the one he just cast, and he'll do just that.
Yep, this is a really good turn cycle, and the things that he's doing, he just doesn't care about this Wurmcoil Engine very much.
Now, one of the dangers in this matchup, why generally Tron likes playing against Abzan Company, is that Tron is one of the few decks in the format that has a true sweeper, something that can just kill every creature.
Yeah, Oblivion Stone and Fire Spout both at Joe's disposal.
A Noble Hierarch played by Presnell, and he will pass. Lossett knows that he has the Collected Company. This is also enough creatures where Court of Calling becomes a concern. We'll go back to Lossett. Yeah. Made Wurmcoil Engine last turn.
No shortage of mana and creatures for Presnell here.
Urza's Power Plant will sacrifice the Chromatic Sphere to make a colored mana. It draws Karn Liberated. That is one of the big finishers for the Tron deck. Now Lossett has decisions.
He'll be able to set up Karn with the Wurmcoil Engine as a blocker. And unless Presnell's able to set up both the 2-drop element, the legendary creature, the Viscera Seer, and find Murderous Redcap on the following turn, Joe can just take a turn off of using Karn to exile permanents. He could actually use a turn to target the hand and keep Karn safe if that's the route he goes down.
So Joe is going to use the green mana off of Chromatic Sphere to cast Ancient Stirrings, looking at the top 5. Now, he already has a Karn in his hand. It's interesting. His finishers generally are Karn and Wurmcoil Engine, but I feel like the Oblivion Stone might be the more important card in this matchup.
Yeah, finding that and leaving it up, clean up these creatures, makes Joe operate a lot safer as he starts trying to disrupt the other elements of the game.
We'll see what he picks. There is a second Karn in these top 5. He'd like to find... How about if he can find an Ugin the Spirit Dragon? That might be the best thing he can get.
Yeah, Ugin would be superb. If he were able... so he has 1 mana floating, still has access to 5, so a Tron piece plus Ugin, he could cast that this turn.
I think if he had that, it would be far and away the play.
Yes. With the ways that Joseph generates mana, he could float mana and cast the Collected Company after the Sleeper effect resolved, though Joe has this Wurmcoil Engine to block for the Ugin on the following turn if that was what happened.
So second Ugin into Lossett's hand. Presnell only knows about the first Ugin.
Or Karn.
Right, Karn. If there were multiple Ugins, it would be a different story. Karn's still good. Lossett has 1 mana floating, 5 available. So instead of playing that second Urza land, or the 4th Urza land, he's going to play a forest. So 1 mana off the forest, 1 mana floating, 5 off the remaining lands. And that will make Karn Liberated. This is the Planeswalker from New Phyrexia. Each turn, it can exile basically any permanent in play or a card from Presnell's hand.
I remember when Karn Liberated was spoiled from New Phyrexia. Many people clamored fake on this text box.
Yeah. It's going to exile the Kitchen Finks, and now Presnell will make a play. Here's Collected Company. Now, he's doing this in response to the Karn trigger.
Yeah, you do it in response to the Karn trigger. Joe has no follow-ups on this turn. We could find something like a Viscera Seer to sacrifice the Kitchen Finks and scry and get the Kitchen Finks back with Persist when it's not exiled.
If Presnell could, if he finds one of those 2-drops and a Viscera Seer, have the full combo here, and Lossett knows it. So what it will be, though, does not look like a full combo. He found Malira, Sylvok Outcast, but I don't believe he found the Viscera Seer. Yeah, I found Voice of Resurgence to go with it. That's very different. A miss for Presnell, and the Kitchen Finks will be exiled to Karn Liberated.
And now he's down to 1 combo piece. On the following turn, perfect for him to be able to set up Seer plus Murderous Redcap and just end this right now.
If he had hit Seer plus Malira, Presnell would have won the game right there. He would have saved the Kitchen Finks, gained infinite life, scried Murderous Redcap to the top of the deck, ended the game.
Correct.
That one's not going to work, though. So now to the drawing board for Presnell. The attacks are not safe. Wurmcoil Engine is defending Karn. So we go to Presnell. 3 mana. Noble Hierarch, Godless Shrine, and Swamp. He's got Fiend Hunter. He'll hunt away at the Wurmcoil Engine. Okay. A card that has very limited application here, actually doing very good.
Yeah. Yeah, the Karn no longer has any protection here.
So here's an attack of some of the creatures left over. He's got a 2/1 and a pair of 2/2s. So it's going to be 2 damage to Lossett and 4 damage to Karn. Karn will hit the graveyard. The Kitchen Finks remains exiled, but Joe goes to 18. And we'll see if Presnell has a follow-up. He's going to use the mana off Wall of Roots and his remaining lands to cast Eternal Witness, getting back a Collected Company again.
I like it.
So look at all this. What do we have? 2 Witnesses, a Melira, a Voice of Resurgence, 2. This is a lot of power in play. Joseph Presnell could just attack for the win in 2 turns.
And the backup Karn is not what Joe needs against this many creatures. The Karn can exile the Fiend Hunter, and he can get his Wormcoil Engine back.
Okay, well, that's pretty good. I was going to say, Karn only takes care of 1 card a turn. It's very good at it, but it only does 1. Joe Lossett needs Ugin or Oblivion Stone. But likely if he finds one, I'm not sure that Presnell has much of a chance to beat it.
Yeah, those would be spectacular from this position.
All right, Sylvan Scrying the play for Lossett. Can find any land. He's floating 1 colorless mana. Finds Sanctum of Ugin. This is the rare land from battle for Zendikar. When Joe finds a creature like Karn, and this is actually great. He has a Karn in his hand, so he's going to play the Sanctum, make mana number 2, 3, 4, 5 off the Tron lands. So 7 mana, gets to cast Karn. More importantly, he gets to sacrifice that Sanctum of Ugin. This is big.
Yeah.
So he may sacrifice it and search his library for a colorless creature card, reveal it, put it into his hand, and shuffle. So his options are Spellskite, Wormcoil Engine, Worldbreaker, Ulamog, the Ceaseless Hunger.
And in one of the greater flavor fails in competitive Magic, we see Sanctum of Ugin finding Ulamog, the Ceaseless Hunger.
Yeah, that's... I don't know why that guy's inside Ugin's Sanctum. They're fighting against each other, aren't they?
Yeah, they are not friendly forces.
Well, Karn's hanging out. That part's okay.
Yeah, the pacifist probably brought them together. Everyone loves Karn.
Hey, guys. Hey, guys.
There's no need to fight. There's no need
to
fight.
We'll see what Joe wants to do with the Karn. So next turn, he can cast Ulamog and start exiling 2 of Joseph Presnell's permanents. -3 on Karn will exile... Yeah, he's counting damage. So he's counting damage because he needs to know if he's dead next turn.
Yeah, what happens if I don't exile a permanent? You know, if I get this Fiend Hunter out of the table, I get my Wormcoil Engine back. What could you potentially crack for?
Well, he knows there's a Collected Company's hand. He might just take Melira, try to cut Joe, because then Presnell has no combo pieces, right?
Yeah.
I mean, it's not great, but he could take a combo piece away from Presnell, or he could get his Wormcoil Engine back. Does he need to protect his life total, or does he need to protect against the combo? This is a big decision. He's going to lose the Karn either way. Well, if he takes the Melira, he'll lose the Karn. He's going to plus Karn and get a card out of Presnell's hand.
He decides that he can take a turn off to do this.
Does Presnell only have the Collected Company in hand?
I thought that he had 2. I believe there's an Orzhov Pontiff in hand that I spotted earlier.
Okay, well, we'll check here. If it's 1 card in hand, this is a great play for Joe. If he gets something like Orzhov Pontiff...
That's not as great, but...
So, okay, if there's a Pontiff, what Presnell's counting is if he plays Pontiff and +1/+1s his team, is that lethal? It was a lot, but it's not lethal, so he'll go ahead and exile the Pontiff.
Yeah, these creatures are still pretty small on their own.
Well, to be fair, it was 17 points of damage. Joe Lossett's at 18. It was 1 off from being the right play.
Oh, wow.
Let's go back over to Lossett, or Presnell. He draws Wall of Roots for the turn, has that Collected Company in hand. He knows Ulamog is coming, and a very loyal Karn is on the other side of the board.
And either of those, the Karn or the Ulamog, could get rid of this Fiend Hunter and get a Wormcoil Engine back on Joe's team.
Yeah, if Presnell doesn't combo this turn, he's going to have to deal with Ulamog. It's possible, but kind of has to decide what he wants to attack. I don't know that he can attack Lossett this turn.
Yeah, it seems ambitious to make an attack on Lossett. On the following turn, Lossett's going to clean up so much of this board.
So what he'll do is looks like he's going to go for a main phase collected company. Perhaps this extra information that he gets off the company will make the decision for him or help him make a better choice. You see, use a mana off Wall of Roots. He'd like to save his mana sources so that if he finds an Eternal Witness on this collected company, he can cast another one. Here's a swing of all the creatures. See where they're going. He leaves back, just Noble Hierarch and Wall of Roots. 9 power worth of creatures. Almost enough to knock Karn off the board. But instead, Karn Liberated goes to 1 loyalty.
Yeah, takes Karn off of using that -3 exile a permanent ability.
And now, it looks like it'll just be the Wall of Roots from Presnell. Yeah, he'll just pass the turn. If he's going to company, he'd rather do it on end step.
He's leaving up Collected Company if Joe casts, say, Ugin the Spirit Dragon or Oblivion Stone on this turn. Main phasing that Collected Company could be disastrous.
Ugin will go up to 4. Presnell exiles Wall of Roots to it. You see that Presnell was thinking about playing Wall of Roots and then realized, wait, I can't do that.
Yeah, once we decide not to cast main phase Collected Company, keeping the other card in hand is what you want to do.
Joe has found Oblivion Stone. So he has Ulamog in hand, but he's going to go for the sweeper instead. Here's Oblivion Stone. And that is the card Joe was looking for. It's the sweeper. So once it's on the board, at any point, Joe can pay 5 mana, sacrifice the stone to destroy all non-land permanents without a fate counter, which is all of them right now. It would take away Joe's own Karn, but it would get all of Joseph Presnell's creatures.
I imagine Joe will be activating the stone on Presnell's following turn. Lossett can't really wait around to put a fate counter on the Karn.
So rather than use Collected Company in the face of the Oblivion Stone, Presnell is just going to untap. He draws Horizon Canopy. And he may just try to use the attack phase to force some action from Lossett. He'll sacrifice Horizon Canopy to draw a card, using mana off of Wall of Roots.
Yeah, he knows that Wall of Roots won't be around forever, so I like using that mana.
Draws a card off it. Don't know that one just yet. We know one of his 2 cards is a Collected Company. Lossett knows it as well. 8 power worth of 2/2s on Presnell's side of the board. Now, neatly, because of how Fiend Hunter works, when Lossett cracks that Oblivion Stone, he's going to get the Wormcoil engine back into play.
Yeah, Joe will be untapping with the Wormcoil. Presnell, very light on cards in hand. The Wormcoil will be a lot more oppressive in this part of the game than it was when Lossett initially played it.
So here's a swing. All the creatures. We'll see if they're at Lossett or at Karn. He'd like to force Lossett to use the Oblivion Stone before Lossett can put a fate counter on Karn, I would think.
Yeah, I'm inclined to agree.
Joe will take the damage. It looks like the attack was at Joe, not at his Planeswalker. Lossett down to 9. That was half his life total.
Yeah, Presnell could figure that Lossett just has to activate the Oblivion Stone in this turn one way or the other.
It's going to... Let's see how he's activating it. If he's destroying creatures or putting a fate counter on things. Interesting. So Joe's going to take the damage and then crack Oblivion Stone at the end of the turn.
Yeah, just playing around Presnell, having something on the main phase. He knows he's getting Wormcoil Engine back, so he'll be able to gain a lot of life back on the following turns. He can afford to take that hit and gain some information.
Wormcoil Engine now in play for Lossett. He loses the Karn, but he still has that Ulamog. Here's a land.
Not a ton of juicy targets for the Ulamog, but just blowing up 2 lands here seems pretty solid.
Lossett will tap a power plant. He'll cast Spellskite. Now that doesn't actually break up the combo, I don't believe.
No, you can take a couple hits from a Murderous Redcap onto the Spellskite, but it'll just die after a
You can't take them all.
Yeah. You're also just losing 2 life when you do that. So
lose 2 life to redirect this 2-point burn spell.
You can't redirect anything like Persist or Sacrifice a Creature.
So for Lossett, it is Ulamog, the Ceaseless Hunger. He will play the Eldrazi he had found. Can exile away both of the white mana sources of Presnell.
Yeah, both of the lands that tap for more than one color, the only white sources for Presnell. Everything about that makes sense.
Now he floated the mana. Okay, he floated the mana off those before they were exiled. He did it verbally, and now we'll cast Collected Company. So 6 cards, 2 creatures on end step for Presnell. He's going to need some good ones. He's facing down a very scary board.
Yeah, this is likely in Joe's moving to combat, the end of the pre-combat main phase. Joe still has that Wormcoil engine to attack with here.
Viscera, Seer, and Eternal Witness. Now this actually could work because he's got 1 combo piece in Seer, and Witness could get back Collected Company. Or one of the other combo pieces. Remember, the combo is Kitchen Finks, plus the Malira in his graveyard, plus the Seer that's already in play.
Yeah, being down to 3 lands is problematic.
Except if Joseph Presnell hits the combo, but doesn't hit and gains infinite life, Ulamog the Ceaseless Hunger can still exile away Presnell's library and take away the ability to do infinite damage.
Right. I mean,
it's really crazy.
Ulamog is the way that Joe wins, that Lossett wins through the combat. Presnell has to actually kill Joe to get him out of this game.
Yeah, he can go to infinite life, and it's not good enough. So the Eternal Witness, it looks like it's going to target Malira Sylvak Outcast. Chooses to take 1/2 of the combo. He has Murderous Redcap in hand. Okay.
So
Wormcoil Engine will attack. Presnell takes the hit. Whoa, wait. He could do this.
yeah, he needs to find a second black source to cast the Murderous Redcap.
Okay.
He can already cast the Malira.
He drew Chord of Calling. Now, in a roundabout way, that is a black source. I could find Birds of Paradise.
Yeah, and the Malira, that's 3 creatures and a forest hanging out. 2 of the creatures are green.
This works. This works.
Oh, yeah, he has the elemental token as well, so yeah, he can go ahead and chord for that.
Yeah. He'll play the Sylvak Outcast. Wow, could he get this? Joe, oh wait. Joe with a huge draw here. He gets a copy of Fire Spout, except there's a problem. Joe got the basic forest earlier in the game instead of getting Grove of the Burn Willows.
So here's something interesting. Joseph Presnell needs to get Birds of Paradise as his mana source.
Yeah.
If Joe attacks with Ulamog, it's very likely that Presnell will have to cast a Chord of Calling in response to find Birds of Paradise. Joe has access to basic forest to make green mana for Fire Spout. As you can see, if you pay green mana into Fire Spout, it deals damage to flying creatures.
So what you're saying here, so the problem with the Fire Spout is that it only hits flyers. Joe only has green. Joe's attacking. He's going to exile 20 cards out of Presnell's deck. Now, Presnell might be worried, hey, don't exile all my Birds of Paradise.
Right.
And might get it now. And if he does, he's going to lose.
Yeah, he needs black mana. Noble Hierarch can't make black mana. 20 cards is a lot of cards. He wants to find birds with this trigger on the stack.
Yeah, does he need to get it now? Oh, wow.
He's picking up the deck.
No, he's exiling 20. Okay. Well played, Presnell. How many Birds of Paradise are in this 20 cards? Also, if Joseph doesn't, he also needs to know how many of his black mana producing lands are in the 20 cards. He could try to scry to it if it doesn't hit. We look at this 20, there are not a lot of birds in there. 1, 2, wait, maybe. Just 2 copies. I don't believe the other 2 are in the graveyard. I think there's 1 left in the deck.
Okay. Presnell may have locked this up then.
And these little decisions matter so much. You go back to the turn where Lossett got a basic forest. Oh, wow. If that Fire Spout could have hit. Presnell will go ahead and Chord of Calling for 1. This is great. Is there a Birds left in the deck? There is. He finds Birds of Paradise. That's the second black mana source he needs, and I believe Presnell has it.
Yeah, he just has the Murderous Redcap in hand, and that'll combo off.
And he shows it. Redcap in hand, Viscera Seer, Malira, Sylvak Outcast. That's the combo, and not the Infinite Life one. That's the one he needs in the matchup. He's going to go for it. Does it work? Joe's last card's a land and a Fire Spout. That's not going to do it, and we are... Wow. Joe says redirect a couple of the spells. Get Presnell. Sure, I'll do it some more. Game 1 over to Joseph Presnell.
Wow.
Whew.
After having his lands exiled down to just 3, having to find that black source, the Chord of Calling, at first it looked like a blank, but it was just the Birds of Paradise.
You can see that on his face. This was a hard-fought game. Oh, my goodness.
Yeah, we've watched the company deck go to arbitrarily large life totals. We've watched Tron win through that. You can't win through by being dealt infinite damage.
Oh, wow. So many things. He won, but you go back here, you know, Joe got a forest. When he cracked the Oblivion Stone, he was patient, but was he patient enough? For Presnell, he really, man, that was close.
Yeah.
Okay, let's look at the sideboards. We're going to start over on Joe Lossett. Green-Red Tron. He is down a game. We've seen this matchup before. Thrag's Tusk of 3. Nature's Claim 4. Those don't come in. Now, we've seen Joe use Relic of Progenitus. He has 2 of those. Anything else?
The Relic of Progenitus is the really big one. Warping Whale can take a couple of the creatures in this deck. Lightning Bolt is actually quite good as a removal spell. So
Yeah.
Lightning Bolt for sure.
Lightning Bolt takes care of a lot of these small creatures. Warping Whale can hit Viscerus here, which is
Right.
very important.
Or a mana creature, which is fine. Mostly it's the Lightning Bolts and the Relics.
Yeah, I wouldn't be surprised, I suppose, if he uses the Warping Whales. But yeah, he's got those Lightning Bolts and Relics. Now, the point part about Relic is how it interacts with the combo half of Abzan Company.
Right, we have Kitchen Finks and Murderous Redcap, creatures with Persist. They hit the graveyard, Persist triggers to return them to the battlefield. If you use Relic to exile them with that trigger on the stack, they just go into exile. They never enter the battlefield. So Relic interacts positively with that interaction. Then on Presnell's side, he's got a lot of 1-ofs and some 2s and 3s. So he has 1 Linvala Keeper of Silence, 1 Kasali Pride Mage, 2 Abrupt Decay, 3 Path to Exile, 1 Burnt and Forge Tender, an Aven Mind Center, 2 Stony Silence, a Sin Collector, 2 Tireless Scullers, and a Scavenging Ooze. Highlights here, the 2 Tireless Scullers, get a peek at Joe's hand, turn Lossett off of those big sweeper effects or the payoff cards on turn 3. Stony Silence is great here. Get to turn off Expedition Map, Oblivion Stone, all the Sphere and Star effects.
You were saying, I've heard people say it, they board in Blood Moon to beat Tron. Whenever you talk to a Tron player about it, the Tron player says, I can beat Blood Moon. But then when you ask them about Stony Silence, they get a lot more quiet on the issue.
Yeah, they're less confident in their matchup against Stony Silence.
Yeah, they have to just draw Tron, no help. And sometimes they can be all their green mana. It's really tough.
Oh, yeah. And then Presnell also has Aven Mind Sensor, which can be good against the search effects, the maps, the Sylvan Scrying.
Yeah.
That one's fine. And then Abrupt Decay is medium. I don't like that one here. Kasali Pride Mage, though, I do like.
Presnell has a pretty good sideboard for this matchup.
Yeah, we didn't see Stony Silence in the earlier Abzan Company sideboards. This is actually something he has that other players didn't.
All right, we're going to get ready for game 2 here of our finals. It's between Joseph Presnell and Joe Lossett. Presnell, the overall 1 seed, up a game. He's 1 game away from the title. He has been at the top of the standings nearly all weekend.
Yeah, and he's the one bringing in Haymakers. The Stony Silence are Haymakers. Joe has Lightning Bolts.
An 8-1 finish to day 1. Presnell undefeated on Sunday. One thing, as we get ready for our finals here on May 1st, the change of the calendar means a change of the pins over at Game Night. So you guys not knowing, StarCityGames.com Game Night is a promotion run all around the country at stores near you. It is exclusive pins and tokens given away as prizes for weekly tournaments at your local store. So just kind of a lot of cool stuff that you can put in your standard deck, your commander deck, whatever it is in whatever way you like to play Magic. So for May, you notice that on our shirts we have the pin for Manatiri Mentor. Okay, these are all... There's a theme. They're all kind of like this. This is the Walrus. We talked about him on the playmat, so you can also get him as pin and tokens for May. Now, coming up in June, the next creature we have is his sea creature friend. It's the Otter spell, the Merfolk Wizard. What do you think about otters as Merfolk?
It's odd. It doesn't really do it for me. But the otter is adorable. I like the otter just as the otter.
Yeah, and he's countering spells, so he and I like that. That's good.
You're kindred spirits.
Yeah. And if you get signed up now as a store, you can get registered in time for the July promotion, which is more sea creatures doing blue mage things. This is the Snipcaster Mage. It is this crab wizard, the 2/1 token, and giving out... These are all exclusives to StarCityGames.com game nights, so go ahead and get registered or find a store near you at StarCityGames.com/game night.
Crab Wizard is one of the more popular race job pairings in fantasy games, as we all know.
Crab Wizard?
Crab Wizard, yeah. Why are you asking? Everybody knows Crab Wizard.
Yeah.
There's Fizzbot, perhaps the most famous Crab Wizard.
I have no idea what we're talking about.
Well, Great improv, Matthias. Thanks for following along with the joke.
You're great. I don't know what Fizzbot is.
Well,
I don't even know
good.
what game we're talking about.
If you did know what that was, I'd be concerned because it's not a real thing. And if it is a real thing, I apologize.
Is this like a League of Legends thing?
I have no idea. I was just putting words together, expecting my partner to play along with the joke.
No. I just need you to explain the joke to me. See, jokes are better with explanations.
Well, everybody knows that explanations make jokes better.
Right.
That's why there's explanatory comedy.
I feel at home with that stuff. I just don't want to miss anything when I watch a comedy show. I want to feel left out.
On every bookshelf in every home in America, there's the joke encyclopedia that you use to look up so that you can finally appreciate the joke.
Yeah, I need to get a newer copy of it, I guess. I thought it was up to date, but now I'm uncomfortable.
Yeah, there's a lot of updates from the 2015 version.
All right. Game number 2 here between Joseph Presnell and Joe Lossett. Lossett will be on the play this time. He starts off on Urza's Power Plant into Expedition map. We'll go back Presnell's way. This time it's a mana creature for Presnell. He has sacrifices that Verdant Catacombs to cast Birds of Paradise.
Yep, Joe's on pace for that turn 3 Tron. Presnell has his mana accelerant.
Yeah, it is the Urza's Mine, sacrifices map. All right, turn 3 Tron's ready. Now, Joe has boarded in Thragtusk in this matchup, if you look through his deck. It's not something I would expect. You know, Joe wasn't really able to win with that turn 3 Wormcoil last game.
Yeah.
Why does he want the 5/3?
It's all about staying alive in combat. It does surprise me to see it, but it makes sense. It's not an attacker, it's a blocker.
Okay. I suppose it's cheaper than Worldbreaker.
Right.
Yeah.
Likely that Joe just had a bunch of stuff he wanted to take out.
Map did find Urza's Tower, so Tron online turn 3. Back to Presnell. You see Spellskite, Eternal Witness, both in hand. He will sacrifice Verdant Catacombs. And see what 3-drop he wants to run out there. There'll be a pair of a 1 and 2, a Spellskite, and then a Noble Hierarch.
Okay, so we still haven't shown any combo pieces.
Yeah, no combo pieces. He will untap with 5 mana on turn 3, but he has a ways to go.
A Fire Spout from Joe would be a big swing here. 2 mana creatures would hit the bin.
Yeah, you can't redirect that one with Spellskite. We'll go over to Lossett. Could have a Fire Spout at the same time. He does have 7 mana on turn 3. He's found all his Tron pieces.
Is there any Haymakers available?
You see he's going to forego the Tron to go ahead and play Grove of the Burn Willows. Presnell will gain a life off it as Joe will search perhaps for a finisher. It's going to be Ancient Stirrings from Lossett. Perhaps one of those hands where he's got a lot of mana, but no payoff card. Yeah. Stirrings will help there.
Natural Tron is something that you can often keep on its own merits, but sometimes you have to rely on these Ancient Stirrings to find something great from there.
Well, Joe doesn't find a threat, but he finds one of his important cards in the matchup. It's a copy of Oblivion Stone.
Yeah, previously I had mentioned that Fire Spout would be good on this turn. That would leave Spellskite behind. As we progress with the Oblivion Stone, that'll sweep everything up.
Yeah, and Presnell knows that Lossett has a tower in hand. So when Joe plays his tower, he will have 8 mana. That's enough to play and sacrifice Oblivion Stone.
Right. So Presnell really doesn't want to commit a lot more to this board. The issue is he only has 0 power creatures. If he just doesn't do anything, Joe's under no pressure to activate Oblivion Stone.
Basic planes for Presnell.
So Presnell has picked up the sideboard copy of Aimwood Mind Sensor, and he also has a Collected Company in hand. Thinking about doing something on his main phase, though.
So we'll see here. Noble Hierarch taps. I think it might have been an attack. Yeah, just an attack for 1 and a pass.
Okay, I like that a lot better than casting a spell.
I don't know what do you want to play. This makes sense. Tower for Joe. 8 mana available now. Taps tower, plays Oblivion Stone. We're settling in for more of a cat and mouse game here.
Yeah.
Joseph trying to play enough cards to get Joe to use the Oblivion Stone, but not too many.
Yeah. Lossett says, all right, I'm at 19. You're going to attack me for 1 a whole bunch of times. You're going to have to do something else.
And end step Collected Company from Presnell. Well, that'll get some creatures on the board. Maybe try to get Joe to use his Oblivion Stone. Does Joe have an answer? No. He'll go ahead and let it resolve.
No reason to crack the stone in response, though we could see it on his own end step here.
Yeah, this is on Joe's end step. So top 6 cards, Presnell gets to choose 2 creatures to put into play. He's going to pick Kitchen Finks, and it looks like Sin Collector.
Yeah, those are pretty good finds. The Kitchen Finks can persist back if he sacrifices the Oblivion Stone. The Sin Collector will get a look at Joe's hand.
So Sin Collector. We'll get to look at Joe's hand.
Yeah, find out if there's any instants or sorceries.
There is a Sylvan Scrying in Joe's hand. He'll get to take it. But Joe's hand's pretty good. He has another Urza land. He has a World Breaker, which he can cast, and then another copy of Oblivion Stone.
Okay, his hand doesn't threaten to end the game, but it's very good at keeping pace with Presnell.
Right. What'll be difficult for Joe is his ability to cast World Breaker while keeping up Oblivion Stone mana. If Joe ever takes down 5 mana, he could lose.
Right. I imagine we'll see him sit on that anytime that Presnell is anywhere near comboing off.
All right, so Joe's going to go ahead and crack the Oblivion Stone. There was no combo threat there. However, a lot of creatures had shown up.
Yeah, Presnell will be untapping with a lot of mana. There's potentially the threat of, say, Collected Company into Court of Calling with some Convoking, and things could get out of hand. Also, there were 2 mana creatures in there. Presnell only untapping with 3 lands. It's possible that Lossett keeps him off of actually having Collected Company on this turn.
You see Lossett doing that during his own turn, so this Kitchen Finks that persisted back will be able to attack. In the meantime, Presnell will rebuild. It's going to be Eternal Witness, looks like, from Joseph Presnell. Yeah, it's going to get back a land and attack. I thought he would be going for Collected Company there. Really surprised.
Yeah, well, outside of that land from that Witness, though, he was going to miss his land drop, and there's also a backup Eternal Witness in Presnell's hand.
Oh, okay. And Joe Lossett has World Breaker. I suppose if he misses a land drop, Lossett starts World Breaking the lands away. That could be really bad.
Right. I wouldn't be surprised to see the World Breaker on this turn either way.
All right. Lossett plays another Tron land, so now he's up to 10 mana. He could play Stone and World Breaker.
Yeah. Set up to get it a Fate counter.
Here's the World Breaker. This is the 5/7 from Oath of the Gatewatch. It will exile away the Overgrown Tomb. And Joe will pass the turn. Now, this is interesting. He could have played Oblivion Stone, but chooses not to.
Doesn't want to commit it into something like Kasali Pride Mage.
Okay, so he's only going to play it with 8 mana?
Right, he has enough mana that there's going to be a window where he can cast it and leave up activating. No reason. He has plenty of mana that he'll be untapping with on the following turn.
Yeah, that makes sense. I suppose it's not likely that he will die this turn.
Right.
All right, so we're back to Presnell. He untaps with those 4 lands. Well, 3. Plays a 4th. He did lose a land. A second Eternal Witness from Presnell. This time it gets back Collected Company.
All right, there it is.
But with that 5/7 reach in the way, Presnell just passes the turn back to Lossett. So
Yeah.
Go Joe's way, and this is a huge draw. It's a copy of Ulamog, the Ceaseless Hunger.
Yeah, that big is
He has
exactly
10 mana,
right.
yeah. He'll attack with World Breaker. He means he can't cast Oblivion Stone, but I think he'll do it anyway.
Yeah, keeping Presnell off of 2 of his lands. Presnell only has 4 lands in play, and he just got back Collected Company.
Here's the 10 mana spell. Ulamog, the Ceaseless Hunger, is cast. Before it enters the battlefield, it will eat away 2 of Presnell's lands. I suppose that's one way to answer Collected Company.
Yeah.
He'll take both the white mana sources for Joseph Presnell.
For some people, there are counter spells. For others, there's land destruction.
Yeah, try to cast it next turn. Presnell could chord for Birds of Paradise. That would give him the option. We'll see if he does. Let me go ahead and crack his fetch land.
That would enable him to have another land or top deck a land and cast Collected Company. And with that Ulamog hanging out now, it's only a matter of time before Presnell is out of this game.
Yeah, I mean, he knows Lossett has another Oblivion Stone in hand. If Lossett untaps, I don't think Presnell can reasonably win.
Right. And you can't take your cards with you. Just hanging on to that Court of Calling and not getting birds here just seems wrong to me.
So he's going to make the play. He fetches for Godless Shrine, casts Court of Calling, X equals 1. Can have any 1-drop out of his deck. Now, it could be Birds or it could be Viscera Seer. He'll go for Birds of Paradise.
Yeah, so if he finds Viscera Seer, he can get Anafenza and, like, bolster potentially. He doesn't have enough mana to realistically do anything. Like,
yeah, he needs... It's going to be hard. He maybe could gain infinite life, but that's not infinite damage.
Right. The best way to get 2 bodies into play is to find the 4th mana source and cast Collected Company here.
He will cast Viscera Seer for the turn. So he's closer. He has part of his combo. Even Mind Sensor and Collected Company are the remaining 2 cards. He'll just pass. He doesn't have the mana for either of them.
Yeah, and the Kitchen Finks has persisted, so he has to both find a Malira or an Anafenza and fix the issue of the 2/1 Kitchen Finks.
So here's Oblivion Stone from Lossett.
So to save Worldbreaker, he would need a Fate counter. Ulamog, the Ceaseless Hunger, he's indestructible.
So this destroy effect doesn't work. Yeah, Joe will go ahead and crack the Oblivion Stone. It will destroy all the creatures except for Ulamog. So do you have any responses? He's asking. Don't believe Presnell does, so he loses all his creatures.
Could go scrying with Viscera Seer. That's about what he has.
That's what he's going to do. He's going to start sacking creatures to scry. Now, the thing is that anything this doesn't work because he's going to lose the top 20 cards of his deck. So what does this do?
He can hide some that he wants on the bottom.
But then they're on the bottom. That's not any better. I don't want them there either. Ulamog exiles away 20 cards.
Yeah, I think we're going to be going to game 3 pretty shortly here.
Yeah, here's 20 cards. Now, there might be some value for Presnell to not show Joe how he's sideboarded. It probably doesn't matter. Here are some cards.
I would be conceding, but, you know, some players have more heart than I do. What can I say?
Another Urzaland for Lossett. A draw from Presnell. There's a land. He could play Mind Sensors next turn. That's about it, though.
Yippee.
Game 3. So Lossett and the dreaded Tron deck come back in the second game to force a decider.
May I have those 20 cards back, Joe? Okay, we'll be going to game 3. See if the players revisit sideboarding at all.
Go back to sideboard. So 1 game apiece. Joe Lossett versus Joseph Presnell. This the 1 versus 2 seed. This is the last one. It's going to be for the championship. Presnell will be back on the play.
Yeah, we saw Joe with Thrag Tusks in there. It's not a card that's actually great in this matchup. We didn't see any Warping Whales in the post-sideboard games. That was kind of the other thing that wasn't a slam dunk he could have brought in. Maybe we'll see that on the draw just to keep pace with Viscera Seers and Birds of Paradise.
Well, it might be. Sometimes you see strange cards get boarded in matchups because it's not that the card's good, but it's the lesser of 2 evils. When you think about Thragtusk compared to, say, Wormcoil Engine, you know, is one really better than the other? Maybe Thragtusk is it's cheaper, I suppose, but I'm not even sure it's cheaper in Joe's deck. Sometimes 6 colorless is easier to make than 4 in a green.
Yeah, and when your Wormcoil Engine is exiled by a Fiend Hunter, it doesn't leave anything behind, though your Thragtusk will give you that 3/3 beast.
Sure, so it's interesting here. Maybe he revisits some of those Warping Whales, but Joe's been playing this matchup all weekend. I'm pretty sure he knows he has a game plan and is going to stick to it.
Yeah.
On Presnell's side, we saw Aven Mind Sensor and Sin Collector boarded, and I was a little surprised to see Sin Collector, but it did hit. It took a Sylvan Scrying out of Joe's hand.
Yeah, but at that stage in the game, what was the Sylvan Scrying really worth? The Sin Collector is weird to me.
It could have found Joe a Sanctum of Ugin. Joe turned out to not need Sanctum of Ugin, but...
Yeah, the Sin Collector is going to be looking for Fire Spouts.
Yeah, when Presnell's on the play, I think that's more defensible. A turn 1 Noble Hierarch, turn 2 Sin Collector taking Fire Spout, maybe?
Yeah, or on turn 2 on the play, then you can meaningfully find Sylvan Scrying, right?
Yeah. So on the play, I think I do like the card. Presnell likes it on the draw even.
If you like it on the draw, you have to like it on the play, right?
I think so, yeah. I think it's just better here.
Yeah. There could be some revisiting on the value of Abrupt Decay for Presnell in this matchup. That's something that I could see maybe fluctuating play draw. It's a kind of mopey card in the matchup. You only really ever want it if you think you can tag an Oblivion Stone without any mana up. More likely to be able to do that on the play than the draw.
So the last game here for Joe Lossett, it's been quite the journey. 2 weeks ago, he thought he had the Players' Championship locked up. Now he's going to have to fight for the remainder of 2016. The player from California, remember, this is his 20th Open Top 8. So he's top 8 at 20 different SCG Tour Open events. 5 wins. A win today will tie him for most wins ever with Todd Anderson. He's got 2 invitational top 8s as well. And with Tron, that has just been his Modern decks ever since he set foot in the format last year.
Yeah, and he lost game 1 in this matchup, but I'm confident that he is a favorite. We go into game 3. Now, Presnell's Stony Silences, those are the big hurdle for Lossett here.
Yeah, I mean, can't forget Presnell did not find a Stony Silence last game, and that card is just a beating for Lossett.
If that comes out on turn 2, that could just win the game. Amulet Bloom style.
Yeah, turn 2 kills.
Those are comparable power level in Modern.
Yeah, I mean, you shouldn't have played Artifacts. The issue is that Joe Lossett's removal, one of his main ways to remove cards is Oblivion Stone, and that doesn't work with Stony Silence. Now, Joe still has Ulamog and Worldbreaker as ways to get Stony Silence off the table, but that's it.
There's a question as to whether or not Joe wants to bring in some Nature's Claim just to answer Stony Silence. It doesn't seem good. That's what many players refer to as playing scared, and I think that's the level we may be on.
So if Joe's doing that, one of the issues is that if Presnell has Stony Silence turn 2 on the play, and Joe's, let's say Lossett has the answer. He has the Nature's Claim in his opener.
Does he have a green source?
And say he has a green source. Is he really going to delay his entire turn, 1 game, just to play around a 2 of in Presnell's deck? That's a big cost. And I also put a lot of ifs in that statement. The green source,
I think I misheard you. Like, if Presnell literally casts it, then yes, absolutely.
Oh, okay. So let's say the green source is
if you have to leave chromatic star,
that's what I mean.
Right,
yeah,
that is a real concern. I'm with you there.
Yeah, that was what I was meaning. If it's an artifact green source, It's kind of like that Blood Moon style effect, where if you want to beat it, you have to leave up the decay mana for the whole game.
Yeah, you can just search for basic forest, basic swamp.
Yeah.
Call it a day.
We can only hope.
What is this, magical Christmas land?
I like my dual lands. I'm going to go get more of those. All right, game 3. Start here. Presnell will be back on the play. Remember, he won game 1 on the play. In a real barn burner. It was a great play by Presnell up and down.
Oh, yeah.
So he'll start out on Temple Garden into Birds of Paradise. That's on the play. We go over to Lossett. He's had turn 3 Tron both games. He'll start with Urza's Mine into Chromatic Star. This is the kind of draw that just could fold to Stony Silence if Presnell has it.
If Presnell can untap and cast Stony Silence, that could be the whole game. I believe he has a Tide Hollow Sculler. I don't see a Stony Silence just yet.
Knocks the top of the deck. You don't see one just yet. I don't see one yet. He finds Collected Company on the draw, though. That'll be great. And now we see Tide Hollow Sculler, and we get our first look at Lossett's hand. So we see Grove of the Burnwillows, Sanctum of Ugin. Okay, no Tron Insight, but a lot of cantrips. Ancient Stirrings, 2 Ancient Stirrings, a Chromatic Sphere, and an Oblivion Stone. So we've seen a lot of these cards be very good. Like Oblivion Stone. It's hard to take a card out of this hand. So many Ancient Stirrings.
Yeah, you can take one of the Stirrings, and then if Joe's plan is to find the rest of Tron, he only has 1 Tron piece. The 2 Stirrings are his most reliable avenue to finding the rest of the Tron lands. At the same time, the Oblivion Stone is just the most powerful card in this hand. I could make an argument for either of those cards. I think I would go for the Stirrings, but it's tough. Yeah, and there we see, this is my decision.
Stirrings are so Oblivion Stone.
Get the rest of that out of my face.
It's hard. Does he want to take the Oblivion Stone? Or just want to slow... Taking Stirrings is just a sign that you want to slow Joe down.
Right.
He's going to go, it looks like, for the Oblivion Stone. This one's really tough.
Yeah, this is a super hard decision. You know, and usually with Tidehollow Sculptor, you default to the spell that can deal with the Tidehollow Sculptor.
Yeah, you take the... Yeah. Which he did.
Right, right. But this was not the default choice. There was a lot of thought that had to go into that.
So he'll pass back. For Lossett, he cracks Chromatic Star, and how about this? He draws a third Ancient Stirrings off it.
Yeah, so Presnell obviously chose correctly.
I think so. It looks that way. So Joe casts Ancient Stirrings. He finds another Urza land.
Joe will be able to play that other Chromatic Sphere here.
Yeah, well, he has to cast all these Ancient Stirrings somehow.
Right. This is still a good window for Stony Silence. I keep building up to him top decking it, but he's just not going to top deck it. Okay.
So that's one of the Urza's power plants. So Joe is now 2/3 of the way to Tron. But we see Presnell. We go back to his turn. It's turn 3. He plays a third land, attacks with Sculler, puts Joe down to 18. And passes the turn. Now we know on that first turn he drew, or that second turn he drew Collected Company.
Right.
Looks like
not passing on nothing.
Yeah. Joe will tap the power plant to make a green mana. He draws a card. It looks like it was the basic forest. So we'll cast the second Ancient Stirrings. Joe is seeing a lot of cards, but it's a lot of blanks. He hasn't found... Well, I guess he just needs Tron. He has now an Oblivion Stone to go with it. You see, Ugin was found in this top 5. That's one of the finishers he really likes to have.
Yeah, Ugin is exceptional in this matchup.
And he'll take it. Ugin the Spirit Dragon.
Or not.
Yeah, well, yeah, it is. All right, so Ugin into Joe's hand. But he has to stay alive until it. And his hand is very resilient, but it's slow.
Right.
He'll cast Chromatic Star off Urza's Mine.
Still got to figure out how he's getting the rest of Tron, and he does still have that other Ancient Stirrings.
Right, so he'll play Grove of the Burn Willows. Again, I don't think he's found the tower yet. And he'll shield down, tap out a mana. Let's sacrifice Chromatic Star, get deeper in the deck. Draws a card. It's another green card. Here's Ancient Stirrings. Come on, let's see the Tron. Joe's trying to set up for a Karn next turn. If he finds tower, he can do it. And has he gone even 3 Ancient Stirrings and not hit assembled Tron?
The Sanctum of Ugin is not in Urza land.
Joe has seen about half his deck between all these scries, these stirrings, these card draws. But he'll just have to take Chromatic Sphere and keep on trying. And this is a big opening for Presnell.
Yeah, if he has a good Collected Company here,
he could end it.
He could run away with this game in a hurry.
Here we go, Collected Company. Let's see if the top of the deck is nicer to Joseph than it is to Lossett. 6 cards. What has Presnell found?
Well, there's the Stony Silence.
Yeah, Stony Silence. No, nothing but it's just Spellskite.
Oh,
it's just Spellskite. So both these players, are playing these cantrips and just striking out.
And for Presnell, that's so much worse. The Collected Company needs to find him 4 to 6 value worth of creatures. He just can't be missing on that. Joe's cards just draw a card. You expect to miss on that.
I mean, Presnell in hand had Malira and Viscera Seer. He only needed Kitchen Finks.
Yeah. He was almost home. There's a Court of Calling in hand.
So he almost had it without the Collected Company. This is ridiculous.
If he had another creature, he could court for 3 on this board. Just any warm body.
So he plays the Malira for this turn. All right, 4 creatures in play. He's got Tidehollow Sculler, Malira Sylvac Outcast. That one's Summoning Sick. Birds of Paradise, and that Spellskite that he paid a hefty price for.
Yeah, that. If you think that retail on Spellskite's expensive for you, this was a very expensive Spellskite for Presnell.
Happy to have it, I'm sure, but when you look at the price tag on it, just some buyer's remorse. Tidehollow Sculler will swing in for 2. Lossett's down to 16. He'll pass back. Lossett's draw was Karn Liberated. So both players striking out. Remember, Joe doesn't have Tron yet. And he's not going to have it this turn. Presnell actually gets another turn before Joe plays Ugin. I feel like Presnell expected Tower plus Ugin this turn.
Well, now with Seer in hand,
Presnell could still do this.
he actually can cast Seer and Cord for red cap and end the game on his turn.
Okay, you're right.
Joe has to get something significant going right now.
He's going to Nature's Claim the Tide Hollow Scholar.
Okay, that's big. Because I believe that Presnell was in the territory where he was exactly able to
Right, I mean,
off.
it's going to redirect to Spellskite, so Joe won't get his Oblivion Stone back.
Right, but it just gets a creature off the table. That is the significance of this line.
Mm-hmm. So then Joseph Presnell will untap with 6 creatures. He could play a land.
So
Well, with a land, he can still do it.
the Spellskite activation is actually an interesting question. Because if we redirect the Spellskite, suddenly Lightning Bolt is a very good removal spell. It can target the Melira. So that's something that Presnell actually has to think about here.
Right. Well, the concern is if he lets Sculler die, and he's going to let it die, that now Tron's not necessary. The stone will go back to Joe's hand. Joe can cast it and crack it next turn. But I think what Presnell
There might
knows...
not be a next turn.
Yeah, if, you're right. Because if Joe Lossett taps out for this Oblivion Stone, then Presnell more than likely wins.
Yeah, that's the green light.
So he's baiting Lossett. He wants Lossett to play Oblivion Stone so that he knows the coast is clear. He doesn't want to have to worry about Lightning Bolt.
So from here, I believe that
Yeah.
Presnell needs to
All right.
peel a land.
This could be it. Sanctum of Ugin for Joe. If Presnell draws a land, this will be lethal. And you see him, a twinkle of the fingers. Can he get it? It's another Chord of Calling, I think. That's not...
Cord can't make you
Make-
mana on a turn you cast
If
it.
Presnell had a land, and you see, just shake of the head, he knows he's so close. With a land, he could play Viscera Seer and Chord of Calling for Murderous Redcap, win the game.
Oh, that's so bad. That Nature's Claim on the Tide Hollow Scholar.
Does he have something like a Reclamation Sage, a Kasali Pride Mage, something he can chord for and blow up the Oblivion Stone?
Yeah, Pride Mage was on the sideboard. Maybe
Okay.
it should. I believe it comes in this matchup.
Yeah, and he has enough mana he can chord for 2 and crack, and,
Yeah.
and have 1 left over to activate
and
it.
he has the backup cord. Then the ball's back in Joe's court.
But it might not be in the deck. If it's not in the deck, that doesn't matter.
He's reaching for something here.
All right, this is going to be a Chord of Calling. It's not, I don't think it's an attack. Yeah, chord for 5. So X equals 2. He may find a creature that costs 0, 1, or 2. He'll cast it. Is the Pride Mage still in his deck? That looks like the winner here. And he does. There's the Kasali Pride Mage. He has 1 mana left over. He'll sacrifice it to destroy the Oblivion Stone. Joe cannot sweep away his creatures, not yet. And with that card in play, now Joseph doesn't need any top decks, right? He has it on the board.
Right, 4 creatures to convoke, 3 lands.
Now he needs Joe to do nothing. Big if.
Joe has access to Karn. Does he have Tron?
No, but if Joe can find Urza's Tower here, it's easy. He's got it.
Here's a redraw.
Oblivion. Here's Chromatic Sphere. If he draws, so he'll have 1 mana floating with the sphere. If he draws Urza's Tower, he'll win. He'll exile all of Joe's Presnell's creatures, and that should end it. Can he do it? 1 card. It's an Urza land. Didn't catch which one it was.
He's hiding
It's
it.
oh no! It's a mine, or it's a power plant. No, it's not gonna work.
It's not a tower.
It's a power plant. So it's 3 colorless into play. It could have been 8 mana for Joe, but now it's 4. He'll pass the turn with only colorless mana up.
Yeah, 3 colorless mana. That's not going
Is
to do
that
it.
the green light?
Unless he has Warping Whale for Viscera Seer. The Spellskite can redirect, though, because it has 0 power.
Yeah, 0 power. That doesn't work.
There's just nothing. If Presnell goes for the Chord of Calling for Murderous Redcap, that's going to be the match.
Here's 7. He's going to just chord for 4. Chord of Calling, X equals 4. Does their Joe Lossett have a response? I don't believe so. It's going to be Murderous Redcap.
Target you.
Melira, Viscera Seer. This is the 3-card combo, infinite damage, and that will do it. Joe Presnell.
The #1 seed.
Wow. Just running through all undefeated for the entirety of Sunday. Comes here at 8-1. 4-0, 2 intentional draws, sweeps through the top 8, and he's your Milwaukee Open champion.
Wow, really impressive stuff for Joe Lossett. He navigated the minefield, crushed 2 bad matchups to make it to the final, and then Presnell beats him with Obzon Company. Well done by Joseph Presnell.
Wow, what a finals here. And you know, a game 3 where both players, neither of their decks executed according to plan.